Hi all, welcome to my YouTube channel, CyberSec Prep. My name is Priyank, and today we are going to discuss 10 questions from the Domain 3. Domain 3 is your Security Architecture and Engineering from the CISSP. So let us go ahead and discuss the questions quickly. Okay, question number 1. Matthew is the security administrator for a consulting firm and must enforce access controls that restrict user access based on their previous activity. For example, once a consultant accesses data belonging to Acme Cola, a consulting client, they may no longer access data belonging to any of Acme's competitor. What security model best fits Matthew's needs? Options are Clark Wilson, Biba, Bella Padula, and last option is Brewer Nash. So we have to select the most appropriate and best option for this question. Now, if you look at first option, Clark Wilson, right? So Clark Wilson model focuses on integrity of the information by having the well-formed transactions, by ensuring that there is a separation of duties. But do you really think that this option will be good for this question? Because here we are talking about the access part, which means confidentiality, right? So Clark Wilson is not a good choice because it focuses on the integrity. Now let's move on to the Biba model. Now Biba model is again focuses on the integrity part, right? So it prevent unauthorized modification to the data. So it has a concept which is called no read down, no write up. So basically what it means is that whatever level you are at, you cannot read below your hierarchy, and you cannot write above your level, which actually is a very helpful in case where there are financial records, healthcare systems, right, where you have to preserve the uh, unauthorized modification of the records. But again, here we are talking about the confidentiality part. Like, the question is saying that uh, what security model best fits the Matthews needs, where basically when someone accesses one client's data, then they no longer access that competitors of that client. So again, Biba is not the good choice. Now let's talk about Bella Padula model. Now Bella Padula model focuses on the confidentiality. That is okay because it prevents unauthorized disclosure. So what it does is it has the concept of no read up, no write down, which means that whatever level of role you are at in your company, you cannot read the documents or information above your level, and you cannot write anything or modify anything below your level. So that prevents unauthorized disclosure, and also it is used mostly in the military classified government systems. For now, let's park this because we have another option left, which is Brewer Nash model, right? So what is Brewer Nash model? So Brewer Nash model, basically it focuses on confidentiality, but it focuses on the dynamic confidentiality. That is the key, because our question is saying that once a consultant accesses data belonging to one client, then the same person should no longer access the data belonging to the client's competitors. So here we are talking about the dynamic nature of the access. So basically what it does is that it is it is a kind of a, it is also called a Chinese wall, right? So Brewer Nash model also has another name which is called Chinese model. What it does is it allows access controls to change dynamically based upon users action. So it is often used in the environments like Matthews to implement a Chinese wall between data belonging to different clients. Hence this is the most appropriate and best answer. Moving on to the next question. Question number 2. Ralph is designing a physical security infrastructure for a new computing facility that will remain largely unstaffed. He plans to implement motion detectors in the facility but would also like to include a secondary verification control for physical presence. Which one of the following would best meet his needs? Options are CCTV, intrusion prevention system, turnstiles, or Faraday cages. So what do you think would be the correct option for this question? So, if we talk about the options, right, CCTV systems acts as a secondary verification mechanism in this case, for the physical presence, because they allow the security officials to view the interior of the facility when a motion alarm sounds to determine the current occupants and their activities. So, as per now, this looks like a good option. But let's look at other options. IPS. What is IPS? IPS is intrusion prevention system, right? Uh, it prevents, it could be a kind of a device, but it does not prevent you a humans coming in, from outside, because IPS is a feature of the firewall. Yeah, right, it works on the packets. So IPS is not a good choice. Third option is turnstiles. Well, turnstiles uh, provides a way to enter, the people who are authorized, to use the premises. But as a secondary factor, it will not be a good choice, because you cannot verify whether the person is authorized or not once that person actually enters inside your premises. So you cannot have a view which the CCTV provides. So that is not fulfilling the purpose. Faraday cages, it's a kind of a device. What it does, it is an enclosure wherein you keep your equipments, for those equipments, for which you want to protect them against the outside electromagnetic interference or radio frequency signals. So these are mostly used in medical or other industrial automation fields. But for this question, it is not an applicable and relevant choice. So the best answer out of these four options is a CCTV. Moving on to the next question. Harry would like to retrieve a lost encryption key from a database that uses M of n control with m equal to 4 and n equal to 8. What is the minimum number of escrow agents required to retrieve the key? So basically here we have to first of all understand, like, what is m of n control. Okay, so what happens for the uh, key recovery process, the m of n control is used, which basically means that the encryption key will be split with 8 escrow agents. So n means number of escrow agents. Okay, so the key will be split between these 8 people. However, when you want to retrieve the key in case it is lost, then at least 4 of these 8 people should be involved or work with each other to retrieve that key. It ensures that you have security as well as redundancy. So now tell me, what is the minimum number of escrow agents required to retrieve the key? Obviously, now we have learned that what is n, what is m, so we know that the minimum number of security agents which are required are 4. So option B is the right answer. Moving on to the next question. France company is considering purchasing a web-based email service from a vendor and eliminating its own email server environment as a cost-saving measure. What type of cloud computing environment is France company considering? Now you have the options on your screen. Now I hope you all have noted the best option as per your understanding. So let's look at the scenario. So here basically, France company is looking to purchase a web-based email service from a vendor, third-party vendor, because they do not want to, set up their own email server environment, and as a cost-saving measure. So they are looking for some kind of a deployment model, right? So SaaS, software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, these are services provided by the cloud vendor. Now what is the most appropriate service that should be used by a France company? So here, you know this is an example of a vendor offering a fully functional application as a web-based service. Therefore it fits under the definition of software as a service. So the most appropriate response out of these four options should be option number A, SaaS. So in the infrastructure as a service, compute as a service, and platform as a service, which are the other options. In these models, the customer provides their own software. In this example, the vendor is providing the email software, so none of these choices are appropriate, and hence the correct answer is A. Moving on to the next question. Bob is a security administrator with US federal government and wants to choose a digital signature approach that is an approved part of the federal digital signature standard under FIPS 186-4. Which one of the following encryption algorithm is not an acceptable choice for use in digital signatures? Now, the digital signature standard approves three encryption algorithms for the use in digital signatures. Those are DSA, RSA, and ECDSA. Right. Now, the remaining one which is left is option B, Havel. Now, what is Havel? Havel is a hash function but not an encryption algorithm. While hash functions are used as part of the digital signature process, but they do not provide any encryption. So, hence, our right option is option number B, Havel. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 6. Harry would like to access a document owned by Sally and stored on a file server. Applying the subject object model to this scenario, who or what is the subject of the resource request? Now, in the subject slash object model of the access control, as we have read it in the books, the user or the process making the request for a resource is the subject of that request. Now, in this example and the choices we are given, Harry is requesting resource access and is therefore the subject. So option correct option is A, Harry. Moving on to question number 7. Michael is responsible for forensic investigations and is investigating a medium severity security incident that involved the defacement of a corporate website. The web server in question ran on a virtualization platform and the marketing team would like to get the website up and running. This is important to get the website up and running as quickly as possible. What would be the most reasonable next step for Michael to take? Now there are four options. Keep the website offline until the investigation is complete, but there is a requirement of running the website as quickly as possible, so this option does not look good. Take the virtualization platform offline as evidence. Well, if we take the entire virtualization offline, then how do we continue operating the website, right? There is a requirement that we have to make it up and running as soon as possible. Take a snapshot of the compromised system and use that for investigation. Well, this could be the right option. See, Michael should conduct his investigation, right? But there is a pressing business need to bring the website back online. So the most reasonable course of action would be to take the snapshot of the compromised system and then use the snapshot for the investigation, restoring the website to operation as quickly as possible, while using the results of the investigation to improve the security of the sites. So option number C is the right option. Option number D, obviously, it is not right. We cannot ignore the incident. Moving on to the next question. Question number 8. Helen is a software engineer and is developing code that she would like to restrict to running within an isolated sandbox for the security purposes. What software development technique is Helen using? Bounds, input validation, confinement, or TCB? Well, as you must have read in your preparation for the CISSP, using a sandbox is an example of confinement where the system restricts the access of a particular process to limit its ability to affect the other processes running on the same system. So, looking at these options, the best option is confinement, and it is the right answer. Moving on to the next question, question number 9. What concept describes the degree of confidence that an organization has that its controls satisfy security requirements? Trust, credentialing, verification, or assurance? Well, assurance is the degree of confidence that an organization has that its security controls are correctly implemented. So, and also it is must be continually monitored and re-verified. So, the best option and correct response is Option number D, assurance. Moving on to the next question. Question number 10. What type of security vulnerability developers most likely to introduce into code when they seek to facilitate their own access for testing purposes to software they develop? Maintenance hook is the first option. Next option is cross-site scripting. Option C, SQL injection. Or option D, buffer overflow. Well, maintenance hooks, otherwise known as backdoors, they provide the developers with easy access to a system bypassing normal security controls. If they are not removed prior to finalizing the code, then they pose a significant security vulnerability if an attacker discovers the maintenance hook. So, the best option and correct response to this question is A, maintenance.